everybody here tonight hears or feels something that lifts your soul, because that's how we feel in doing our work. There's never a bad day. I know I come to the office walking by the 9/11 memorial, and no matter how bad the day before was, no matter how much I'm worried about the day ahead, it won't be as bad as that day. And everything, every day we do helps somebody get an education, somebody get rescued, somebody to have their art preserved for another time. In our generation, Vietnam was not a country, it was a war. And I had the privilege of taking my daughter and grandson this August back to Vietnam. He wanted to see the war, mainly the tunnels in Cu Chi. He wanted to explore the tunnels. That lasted 30 seconds until he found the first bat hanging from the wall of the cave, and you never saw anybody exit of considerable size so quickly as our grandson Jack. Our daughter wanted to see where we had lived. And we realized that you could see the physical structures, but Vietnam had become a country. It was no longer a war. Most of the people in Vietnam today were not alive when the war happened, much less when the war appeared to end. As I thought about the impact on him seeing this place as a country, he said, "Bubba, do you think we met any communists?" I don't think we did. 10 days, 2 weeks, met a lot of people, but it was transformed. It doesn't happen in the space of one presidential administration, and it doesn't happen over a short period of time. But as Dr. King said, the arc of history does eventually bend toward freedom and justice. And that's global. That's not just an American parable. So we got to see Vietnam transformed the way I never thought we would. Now, a lot of people do ask me these days, what can I do? For us at IIE, it's really easy. My answer is simple: come to work. Because by coming to work, we rescue scholars, we help artists and save their work, we widen opportunities, especially for education for women that have been denied it, and have been denied it for generations for so many reasons, and yet every one we can find a scholarship for, we save that life, we save their future, and we work in a space that has been pretty much neglected. You'll hear tonight about our scholarship for refugees. We have that in part because of the generosity of the board, and in part because we all realize that of all the scholarships we administer, none of them are for refugees. And so we decided, with many of the initiatives you'll hear about tonight, to make permanent signature initiatives to address the gaps in the world of international education exchange. We did our first rescue, I'm almost through with the history lesson, in 1920. And we've been doing it ever since. There was a hope that as we entered the 21st century, we wouldn't need to do so much of it. That is completely unfounded. We're busier than ever, busier and in more demand than any period in our history. And today business is booming with everything you read about in the headlines. And that's not really a good thing to say. But that's what we're trying to do with all of the programs you will hear about tonight. With education and exchanges, there's always a way to make the world we share a less dangerous place. There's no bad day when you're working at IIE. There's no bad day when you're helping people who work at IIE. And we have to believe that the work we can do together is something we can do. It's a privilege to serve all of the people you hear about tonight. It's a privilege to come to work every day, and it's a real privilege to see so many people here so uplifted already. So God bless you. Thank you so much for joining. And now I'm going to ask Courtney Temple, our Chief Administrative Officer and Executive Vice President, and Jason Siz, our Co-President, to introduce the first of the scholarship programs we'd like you to hear about. Courtney and Jason.
Welcome to IIE Honors. Thank you for coming, everybody. Courtney and I are going to tell you a little bit about our programs, but just wanted to give you, and you'll see some information up on the slides. Every year, IIE's programs educate the next generation of leaders and deliver lifelines to students, scholars, and artists caught in crisis. Our global network allows us to help these individuals in ways that no other institution can, providing life-changing aid and long-term holistic support. Since 2002, IIE's Scholar Rescue Fund has supported over 1,100 scholars under threat from more than 60 countries. Our Emergency Student Fund has awarded over 2,800 grants, providing more than $8 million to international students in the U.S. facing crises back home. Through the Artist Protection Fund, IIE has secured new host institutions for artists facing persecution from across 5 continents, and our Odyssey Scholarship has already provided safe academic homes and full scholarships to more than 100 displaced students from around the world.
Every context is different and has different requirements. For example, IIE trustees Miriam Ansari and Laya Kajavi saw the opportunity to develop a new scholarship. Through the Iran Opportunity Award, women in Iran can apply for and pursue master's and doctoral degree programs in the United States. 4,000 degree programs or applications were completed in just 6 weeks for only 50 awards, showing that this indeed is truly a lifeline. We are so grateful for those who made this scholarship happen. Thank you.
As you're hearing a lot tonight, IIE's ability to have people on the ground in the immediate aftermath of crises is a credit to the organization's vast network of corporate, government, and foundation partners, as well as its global team of regional and local experts who live in these nations and call them home. In my years going all around the globe as a foreign correspondent for NBC News, I really saw firsthand just how difficult it is to get access to areas that are cut off by famine and earthquake and political unrest and violence. And often I could see aid agencies were really stuck on the outer edges of these crises and unable to get in. But truly, time and again, IIE has overcome these obstacles year after year after year, and is able to get in to scholars, to students, to artists who are all caught in these perilous circumstances and give them a lifeline. As you've heard, one of IIE's longest serving signature initiatives that responds to emergencies is the Scholar Rescue Fund. This global program arranges and funds and supports fellowships for threatened and displaced scholars with partnering institutions. And in addition, as you're going to keep hearing tonight, IIE does have a long history of working specifically with women and girls to provide them with the skills that they need to thrive in their local situations. So now, would you help me welcome the head of IIE Sub-Saharan Africa, Ethiopia Tilahun. She has played a pivotal role in developing and implementing IIE's work, focused on women and girls. Please also welcome a distinguished academic supported by the Scholar Rescue Fund, Dr. Rana Mustafa. And if you'll indulge me, I'm just going to start with Ethiopia and ask her a few questions, and then switch to Dr. Mustafa, ask her a few questions, and then pivot a little bit back and forth. Can you tell me a little bit more about your role in the day-to-day as the director?
Yeah, thank you very much, Linda. My name is Dr. Tilahun, as she mentioned. I'm the head of the IIE Sub-Saharan Africa and Ethiopia, and I'm supervising and overseeing the strategic direction of IIE Sub-Saharan Africa, and also manage the data activity, supervising the scholarship programs, leadership development programs, women and girls programming, and higher education services.
So how do you, how does your team find its way into, these areas that are hard to reach, or that may be troubled to reach, to get access to people who need our help?
We are deeply embedded in the community that we are serving, and we have a connection with students, teachers, schools, universities in the community. So the program that we have, identifying those girls from the community and the schools, the universities, the connection we already have really helped us to identify the right candidate and the right participants, because we always use an application and recruitment process and outreach. We usually do an outreach in person, whether it's in conflict area and crisis area, so that we can tap into the information that we have and identify the right candidate who really needs our support and intervention. So that's how we identify those candidates and participants.
Can you talk for a minute, just really candidly, about some of the unique struggles that girls and women face in the region?
Yeah, let me share some of one of actually the stories that we have. Semenya is a young girl. We identified her in her school. She was 11th grade in 2013. She was in dilemma of dropping out from school because of the situation that her families are in. Because of the poor economic background, she couldn't be able to focus on her education. She has a lot to do in her home. So when we announced the program, she was one of the few students who applied for the program in the next day. And she believed that program will support her and to complete her education, and also a pass to a university. So she applied for the program with the holistic approach that we have, that embrace collaboration with mentors, teachers, parents, and the whole community. We supported her to work hard in her school, and she was one of the top scorer after completing her education, and she was one of the top scorer, and she gets in the university, medical university. As long as she remembered, she was dreamed of to become a doctor. So she applied for a medical school college in Ethiopia, and she succeeded to join that university. And last year, after 7 years of working in higher education, she graduated with honors. And she became an inspiration to all of our girls. She came back to our programs and inspire other girls in the community, in the schools. She's not only a doctor now, but she's also an inspiration to other girls who really needs her support. And she mentored other girls in her area. So that's one of the stories so I really want to share. And this is an amazing and an extraordinary achievement that this girl achieved. And there are lots of women and girls in Africa, in Ethiopia, who really needs this kind of support to thrive and achieve and fulfill their dreams. So thank you very much for the support.
In a minute, if you don't mind, I'd like to come back to the importance of hope, something you and I were talking about before, that the difference that you see in the eyes. But I'd like to turn to Dr. Mustafa for a second. So if you don't mind, just tell everybody a little bit more about what happened, your lab being destroyed in Syria. You were a distinguished academic, but then both your lab was destroyed and then your home was practically destroyed.
Yeah, so I was a faculty member. I was teaching at the Faculty of Food Engineering. I had my PhD from France, and both my college and my home were destroyed. So research was impossible. Teaching was challenging, extremely challenging. The whole situation not only threatened our life, our safety, but disturbed the education system. And I heard from students, and I noticed from my interaction with them, they needed more support, more mentorship versus only teaching. And after a few years of the war, I personally was drained after everything happened into my life. So their need was something that I was unable to meet. And at a certain point, I felt that there is nothing that I can do while I am there. And at that point, I decided to find somewhere else in the world where I can find support and continue my career and life, because it broke my heart to spend years of studies while other people are partying and be at certain point where you are unable to do your job. Students around you wanted your help, but you cannot do it. So I thought the only solution is for me to leave Syria.
If I may, just fill in a little bit. It was even more than that, because your colleagues were being killed. And at checkpoints, you could have been seized at any moment.
So the systematic violence was extremely intense. It was unbelievable. The fact that we as university professors, we are asked to go to work, even though the situation is unsafe at all, but we need to go. And you go, you stop at those checking points, and you wait, and you show your ID, and you can't do anything other than pray that the person who's seeing your ID is going to let you go. If you take the bus, you just pray that this bus will not explode, and that's it. So living into the war for 5 years, it just was impossible for anyone to handle, to continue. Like, there are so many stories. Losing, like, someone I am supposed to go and share the class with, teaching together, and you show up, You teach the class, you teach your part, and the other person, the other professor didn't show up. And when you ask later what happened, you just discover that your colleague was just killed in the morning. My students are missing in the class, and when I ask about them, they are just killed. So at a certain point, as a human being, you cannot show up and say, I'm going to give a lecture. I am unable to do it. Physically, emotionally, like it's impossible. And of course, there are so many complications around, like electricity, water, basic need. We did not have it to continue our life and our career.
What would you say to everyone here about the importance of rescuing scholars?
I said before that there is no word can express my gratitude for this opportunity. I mentioned that after years of studying a master's, PhD, and being a university professor, doing research, it's hard to leave Syria and be a refugee. And at the time we heard like the whole world was overwhelmed by refugees. And the stories is you go, you sit in a camp, and you do nothing. I did not want that. I preferred that either at the time, I will die with others, or I will go do something so I can help them. And I searched, I spent 3 years searching, couldn't find a place where I can go and continue my career. And I found the Institute of International Education. And the moment I was accepted, I felt that life will be different. And I felt that I've given, like I have new opportunity in life, so many doors opened. And then until I continued, of course, I had the support of the University of Saskatchewan. I should say that they welcomed me with the support of International Institute of International Education. I was able to not only continue my career, but I was able to achieve that dream that so many people are unable to live in Syria. I was able to help them. And that in every single day, wherever I am able to, I am thankful for everyone who contributes, who works with the IIE, because the door of opportunities was amazing for me. And until now, I have that collaboration, I have the connection. And I should say that lately I am engaged in a program where I will be supporting 5 Scholar Rescue Fund scientists, women following their fellowship in Canada. So I am moving from that role of receiver as a giver. And I am very grateful.
Without further ado, thank you both very much. Earlier you heard Alan refer to our Odyssey scholarship grants, which provide full funding for refugee and displaced students who are pursuing their bachelor and master's degrees. I'm lucky enough to serve on the selection committee along with my vice chair, co-vice chair, Hartley Rogers. Our family has endowed some Odyssey scholarships, and so has Hartley through his family scholarship. Take a look.
At IIE, we believe that education holds the power to shape a more just and peaceful world. We have witnessed a clear connection between academic opportunity and stronger economies, improved public health, and more stable democracies. Today, a rising number of refugees and displaced individuals are losing their access to education, undercutting the opportunities they would otherwise create for themselves and the global community. More than 110 million people are displaced worldwide. Only 7% of refugees have access to higher education. That's why IIE created the Odyssey Scholarship, to invest in the potential of motivated young adults, uprooted by displacement, to pursue their own unique paths and create thriving futures for themselves and their communities. The scholarship pays for the students' tuition, housing, and living expenses while they pursue an undergraduate or master's degree. IIE's global network of staff and partners at refugee-serving organizations enable us to identify potential students with proven academic ability. We also take additional measures to encourage applications from women in regions where gender can make schooling out of reach.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. For more than 70 years, the Ford Foundation has partnered with IIE to strengthen education around the world. Through IIE, the Ford Foundation has trained teachers, built higher education collaboratives, and protected artists facing persecution. In 2001, we dedicated our single largest grant in the Foundation's history to give 4,300 IIE Ford International Fellowships the opportunity to earn graduate and postgraduate degrees. And one of our earliest collaborations with IIE, going back to 1959, was our support of IIE's Arts Division. And today, through the Artist Protection Fund, IIE offers safe havens to artists across métiers who use their voices and creative practices to challenge oppression, open minds, and bring meaning and beauty to our world. So tonight, we are pleased to bring Amin Mohdad, who IIE supported through the Artist Protection Fund. So let's get started. You were born in Baghdad.
Yes.
And you first began playing music as a young person in Mosul, Iraq.
Yeah.
Tell us how you discovered music and how you came to love your instruments like children.
Oh, you know a lot. Well, I started precisely when I was 20. I touched the first violin when I was 20. Lots of people said it's too late, and I said that too, but I was like, well, I didn't have a chance to start before, and they didn't invent the time machine yet, so I will start when I was 20. My both parents, I'm lucky that they are both artists. Nothing connected to music, but my dad wanted to paint something called the missing composition, like speaking about the composer who died before finishing the last composition. And he said that's composer called Beethoven. And he wanted to take a photo, like to sketch something, like a hand nearby a violin and a sheet music. And I proposed, of course, like, oh, my hands really look like an old person. We took the photo, I still have it. And I said, he told me, like, Beethoven ended up being deaf and he composed music. And he died before he finishes the 10th symphony. Then I said, oh, when I grow up, I will become the composer who finishes this composition. Of course, my dad said, yeah. Then I had this dream when I was 10. After 10 years of that dream, I got the first violin. And yeah, that's that.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm going to turn us to something a little bit harder, because we are so lucky to have so many scholars here with us tonight who have made really difficult journeys, as you have.
Yeah.
And I want to hear a little bit from you about how the ISIS takeover of Mosul in 2014 affected your ability to perform, and what gave you the courage to take some of the risks that you took. You recorded and you uploaded music even during that time. Can you tell us a little bit about what made it possible for you to do that?
Well, the day that they decided to go in the city I remember was on a Wednesday. And I was taking like an off from my work to go with my friend to perform in streets on Friday. And on Wednesday we were like shopping some mixers and like some things just to do a flash mob, and that was something not there. Like it's very, very tricky and dangerous. Even though ISIS wasn't like publicly, like we know there's troops, and there's this back and forth between the army, like the same situation in Afghanistan. Taliban is there, and there's a government, but there's this always. Anyway, so on Friday we had the concert to have the concert, and I will be that like 2 weeks before I bought a cello, and I started playing cello, and I learned a piece by AC/DC, like Thunderstruck. And I was like, I will be the first cellist in the modern ages to play in Mosul and be like AC/DC, you know? They destroyed my concert. And that was literally, that pissed me off.
It made you mad.
Literally. On Wednesday, I was calling my friend Omar. I was like, hey, are we doing the concert? It's like, they are dropping bombs on us. I was like, maybe they will stop. Because we just like really had a hope. Then they didn't.
They didn't stop.
They were shouting the street and like announcing that they just took the city. Then I took the cello on the rooftop, and I put the phone and I performed AC/DC Thunderstruck with a very angry face. And I posted that 2014 on Facebook. And I said, I'm still doing what I want to do in the place I like. What was very crazy. And people were like, we hear this crazy news that ISIS took control of the city and this guy is playing cello on the rooftop.
On the rooftop.
I didn't really realize how dangerous that was.
So there we have it.
Yeah. Then here when that's changed some people's mind. Like, wait a minute, does ISIS support music? I was like, of course not. Why would you do that?
Does ISIS vanquish the spirit?
I was like, I started forming this idea. I want to just prove that, no, there's innocence here. Then after, when I left to Baghdad, during that time, for a couple months before I go back to Mosul, during ISIS time and stuck there forever, I hear these rumors and ideas from even Baghdadi or from Iraqis, like, they had this generalized idea by, oh, did you hear about what happened in Mosul? It's like, I guess I was there. It was like, yeah, just, they all supported that. They just kill everybody. Then that's put the idea in my brain. Even Iraqis who lived under the same oppression and lived so many wars together, and they know when there's war, they don't have a choice. They justified this craziness. And it was like, yeah, they're like Mosuli people, if they were not supporting ISIS, or the same one, lots of people said, like, if Afghani is not supporting Taliban, why would Taliban come? No, they just came because there's so many civilians who doesn't have weapon, and it's not their job to fight. So when I went back, I said, okay, I'm stuck there. At least I want to prove to each person I talked with and justify this horrible situation, because we thought that the Iraqi government will bomb the city. So I will post music, and I will do music, and I will risk that just to prove, if you decided to press the red button, you will kill at least one innocent. So then day by day I learned how music is affecting me, that I had a really stable mental status comparing to the people who didn't have music in their life. I know they see me as a crazy person. Even ISIS agree on that. And I don't blame them. But that literally taught me well that I don't do music when I feel well. I do music to feel well. So that was like my... It's still crazy, I know, but...
From that moment on the rooftop, can you tell us how something like having IIE's Artist Protection Fund has made an impact on your life, and how your Artist Protection Fund Fellowship in Residence at Cuatro Puntos in Connecticut helps you now on your journey?
Well, I don't want it to sound like cliche
I
or
know.
cheesy, you know. When I remember I told Alison and Margaret the first time we had a meeting. So we had exchanged emails, and the first time we had a Zoom meeting, I was like, "You are real?" Because I didn't think that anybody would care about what I'm doing.
Wow.
And that made me feel like there's a famous song to a Lebanese singer, Fairuz. In Arabic say, أؤمن أن في هذا الكون المقفل من يصغي لي. So I believe that in this closed, small world, that there's someone is listening to me. So I remember I cried when I received the email, and because away from the personal fact, I just felt like there is someone really cares, and someone is putting time and effort and resources to help a random person trying to make peace in this world. And sometimes we really want this small sound just to make us believe that we are real, we are doing things. Working with Cuatro Puntas since 5 years, we did an amazing project then. When I applied to IPF, Artist Protection Fund, I felt that will increase even more the amazement, and gave me a really, really great push, transferring myself and everything I do, my work here in the US, and in a great way. I just feel I have like something I could lean on, and a beautiful family I'm very honored to be part of. And now I have amazing friends. So for many levels, professional level, personal level, artistic level, I feel I'm lucky. Now, again, I don't want it to sound cliche, but this is what this small thing that I believe that, oh, there's someone who's listening. It's not just like application you send and you just wish. No, someone did give time and effort and love to read and understand and see, because we all like this, always ask the question, are we really exist? We always have this, am I really there? Does someone sees me? Because sometimes, especially in war zones, you think you are transparent. Nobody's seeing you, you know. So that was a proof that I'm here.
Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. A promise I have made. A promise I have made. No one I live again. A promise I have made. No one I live again. No one. No one I live again. No sounds of pain. No sounds of pain. No sounds of pain. No tears falling like the rain. Years and years of fear. The death is still not trained. A flying dream got killed when harm was so near. A crying mom at night, a lonely son with light, a broken heart they share, a broken heart they share. A promise I have made. No one, no one, no one, no one I live again. No one, no one, no one I live again.
As we celebrate IIE's steadfast mission in the face of some of the world's greatest challenges, you may have noticed a small thread. We do so this evening by honoring the unique experiences of women grantees who have been caught in crisis and who are valiantly emerging as leaders in their fields, their communities, and nations worldwide.
And just as IIE supports rising leaders threatened by crisis and oppression, tonight we are announcing how we will contribute to the closing of the gender gap in leadership around the world. Tonight, we proudly introduce IIE's Global Community for Women's Leadership. Today, IIE-administered programs support more than 30,000 participants annually, more than half of whom identify as women. They are innovators, changemakers, visionaries. Though society has made progress, they will ascend as leaders in a world of systemic inequality. Women make up more than half of higher education students globally, yet only 1/4 of leaders in the global workforce. And those women who do reach leadership roles are leaving now in unprecedented numbers. UN Women reports, at this rate or pace of change, equality in the global workforce will take another 140 years. That's why IIE is launching the Global Community for Women's Leadership, a first-of-its-kind global network to support women to leadership positions and help them stay there. The Global Community for Women's Leadership will link women with networks and resources through virtual platforms and live events. Members will find tools to build skills in leadership, career building, along with advocacy, fundraising, negotiation, networking, technology, and much, much more. It will create bridges between participants across programs, across geographical boundaries, and across disciplines, connecting them to the most important resource, each other. The community will also have a curriculum for those who do not identify as women, but want to serve as strong allies.
This public launch is an important milestone. To get here, we developed the Global Community for Women's Leadership from an idea, and we raised the seed funding from zero. Securing the seed funding allowed us to hire a launch director And now we will build the virtual platform, assemble the skill-building resources, and launch the virtual speaker series. But that's just the beginning. Our plans and our dreams go far beyond this. We will grow the community, just to name a few things, to include in-person events, mentorship matches, professional development stipends, and we imagine leadership awards. Now, this launch journey would not have been possible without the feedback and perspective of many individuals. Just some of our advisors are even here tonight. They make up IIE's next generation thought leaders. This cohort of rising leaders represents various sectors, education backgrounds, with relevant experience, such as international education and gender justice. They are guiding us through the startup phase, helping develop programs and building our network of funders, advisors, and community participants. We are pleased to welcome 3 of them here tonight: Roxy Biglari, Adnan Bisesu, and Rainey Butler. And here to facilitate their conversation is IIE Vice Chair, President and CEO of Exelon Corporation, Calvin Butler.
So good evening, everyone. I get the easy part tonight when you get to sit next to these extraordinary young leaders. But I first want to say to Nina and Sarah, thank you very much for the wonderful idea and the introduction. I get to do many cool things as CEO of Exelon, but I need to tell you one of my greatest honors is serving on the board of IIE as a trustee. You can't help but be moved by tonight and understanding the why. So to Alan, thank you. To Mark, thank you very much. So we could have this conversation all night, but we only have a few minutes. But I do want to just dive right in, and I just want to thank Roxy, Adnan, and Rainey very much for joining us this evening and giving us your wisdom. So let's jump right in with you, Roxy. When you hear those statistics about women being well represented in higher education, but far less so in corporate leadership positions, does it match with you what you are seeing as a banking associate? So for those of you who don't know, Roxy's associate at Morgan Stanley.
Yes.
And what I love about it, when you get to know these people, the young generation, they're so diverse. Philosophy major, black belt in Taekwondo, and yeah, I just happen to work at Morgan Stanley. So that's the great part. So when you hear those, how has it shaped your professional experience if that is relevant to you right now?
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much consistent with what I've seen in 4 years in, I mean, I won't generalize, but in investment banking. I think firms are doing a lot to hire women into kind of their junior positions. So that kind of, it's representative from a demographic level. The associate and analyst level, the ratio between men to women is effectively 1-to-1. And I think that's pretty consistent across the street. However, as you kind of look to more senior levels, so kind of the director level and above, that doesn't really carry over. It's predominantly men. Mm-hmm. And I think one area that we are focused on, which is kind of retaining talent longer term, and particularly when it comes to retaining women as kind of talented individuals. Seeing someone who looks like you, but more importantly, who can understand your experience at a senior level is critically important. And I think one kind of obvious example of this is kind of if you're a woman, you've been at the firm for a couple of years, and you are kind of reaching your mid to late 20s or even early 30s, it becomes critically important to see a woman who is in a senior position who has kind of gone through important parts of their life that you're about to go through. So for example, having children and kind of having a family and being able to kind of balance the responsibilities there with a job that is incredibly demanding. Seeing examples of that in kind of senior leadership is critically important. I think that's an area where we're failing right now, and I think that's a reason why a lot of women tend to leave the financial services industry, or at least investment banking from what I've seen, kind of at the mid-level.
Thank you for that. So Rainey, I'm gonna turn to you, and first off, as a graduated from law school this past Saturday, Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Is that applause for me so that I no longer have to pay for this?
Absolutely.
So, all right, thank you. No, all right. No, in all seriousness. Rainey, in terms of, that multidimensional next-gen leader, international moot court litigator, so you're all into this, you love international travel. How important is it to you to have connections with other women in the workplace and in your field? How do you believe it has additional value? Picking up what Roxy said, how important it is to see that. How have you seen that?
Well, the legal field is one of the oldest professions and oldest male-dominated professions. So being able to see women leadership and having women leadership, and while it might not even be in the higher levels, but having a woman associate when you're an intern, there to guide you, there to speak up for you, there to be there in the room when you can't, is vital. Just having someone there to tell you, hey, you might want to say this. Hey, this was Rainey's idea. Hey, let's go to lunch. Let's talk about your future because I value your opinion and I value who you are as a person. It's unparalleled because as we were just discussing, more women are joining the workforce, but joining the workforce means nothing if there's no discussing of issues within the workplace that affect women. And in the law, it's known for being a hard environment. You work hard, you stay at the office, you put in the hours, but you shouldn't have to put the hours in a place where you're being abused or feel like you're not being heard. So having a women mentor, having women in the higher levels, having women work with you, building that community, as you just heard from Roxy, it's vital.
Well, thank you for that. And it leads right into how appropriate that I get to wrap this up with you and talk about this. Now, I sit back in sophomore at Yale.
Yes.
Fashionista, lived in England for a while, and you say, Calvin, I own my space.
According to you,
yeah,
I appreciate that.
And avid tennis player, but you have really jumped into your supporting your ally position on what you think is important. So what I'd love to hear from you, Adnan, is why do you believe it is important for people who do not identify as a woman to be involved in the community, and what are you hoping to gain from your involvement?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's extremely important. Well, it's no secret, and we've heard it today, and we'll continue to hear that women are acutely aware of the inequality that they face, and oftentimes are very aware of the exact course of action that needs to be taken. But with a problem that's this sort of systemic, pervasive, entrenched, and slow to change, quite frankly, we heard the 140-year statistic, we all need to be on board. And for this community, what that means for men and people who don't identify as women is you need to be sort of an empathetic ally. And the reason I qualify allyship with empathy is it's one thing to be supportive theoretically in the abstract, to say, yes, women need to pursue leadership positions and stay there. I think by those metrics, most of the men in this room would be allies. But to be an empathetic ally is to say, I'm willing to give up my time to sit down, listen, learn, understand, empathize. And that's a core part of what we're hoping this community will be. And frankly, that's what I'm most excited about gaining in my involvement in the community. It's why we've been so thoughtful about how we introduce educational resources for people who don't identify as women and are allies in the community. And frankly, also, something that's very unique to IIE is what it means to be a global ally. I'd like to discover personally what it means to support women that I'm connected with through the community, online, digitally, who I may never meet in my life, and yet through my connection to them, I feel I have a responsibility to listen to and learn from. So, and that, I would stress, is very unique to IIE. 16,000 women a year, 200 programs, dozens of countries, and I'm frankly very excited to be involved.
Okay, so this is why you have hope for the future, right? Yes. And when you get to sit up here with these three dynamic next-gen leaders and talk about and listen to how they're thinking about the future and how they lean in, that is why it's hopeful. And I can't thank you guys enough for your leadership, not only thought leadership, but your leadership every day and how you show up to make a difference. What Anand has just talked about is that we all have a role in this. Don't get caught up whether you're male or female or so forth. We all have a role to play no matter where we sit. What Rainey identified is that the importance of sponsorship and mentorship, it's not just what you say when they're in the room with you, what you say when they're out of the room and how you represent them. And what Roxy has shared with us is that, hey, we know things are male-dominated when you sit in certain industries, but there's a voice for everyone, and we owe it to them to make sure that we represent them across all stages. So please join me in thanking them for their leadership and their input. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Todd.
As I said, we could have had a much deeper and more robust conversation with each of these leaders, and I know we'll hear from them in the future. Thank you for guiding and giving your input to IIE for how we continue to build this program. It is now my pleasure to bring to the stage our chairman, a mentor of mine, and a friend. And when we're talking one-on-one, my brother from another mother, Mark Engelson. Please join me in welcoming Mark. Thank you, guys.
Generations of women in IIE programs have accomplished the incredible, and they've made history. But much more progress is needed. IIE's Global Community for Women's Leadership will provide that progress and much, much more. This is nobody's mother's IIE. 2 IIE trustees, all the best people are named Amy. Amy Brandt and Amy Towers, we have a CFO named Amy as well, recognize the significance of this vision, and their early gifts enabled us to launch the global community. Amy and Amy, thank you very much. We seek dramatically more support to continue the work. If you are moved by any of this, please don't be shy about letting us know. Every IIE program highlighted this evening is powered by philanthropy. Our impact, IIE's impact, is directly related to the investment of the foundations, corporations, and individuals who partner with us. We owe enormous thanks to our trustees who give us their talent and their time. You saw several on stage this evening. And also their treasure. Henry Kaufman, Tom Johnson, Linda Vester, and Hartley Rogers are among those who have given to IIE at the very highest level. Thank you, all 4 of you. Thank you very much. We are also deeply grateful to Tom Russo, Amy Brandt again, Vic Goldberg, Dr. Alan Goodman, Mariam Ansari, Amy Towers again, Jack Greenberg, bless you, Jack Greenberg, Laya Kajavi, and Mark Kaplan for their long-standing munificence. I thank all IIE trustees for their vision and their generous commitment to sustaining our programs. Marriott Westerman, where are you hiding? Here we are. Marriott, as many of you know, and as the rest of you are about to find out, is moving back to New York after having served for 5 years as Vice Chancellor and Chief Executive Officer of NYU Abu Dhabi to become the new Director and CEO of the Guggenheim Museum, the Guggenheim Foundation. During all of this time, including an NYU-inspired temporary departure from our board, most important about her return is that she is the, although a trustee of longstanding, now the newest trustee. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. And thank you for being the chair of the Scholar Rescue Fund. Brava. Thank you. Thank you. Alongside IIE leadership are our partner organizations. You've already met the incomparable Hillary Pennington, Executive Vice President of Programs at Ford, representing Ford's multi-decade, multi-million-dollar partnership with IIE. Hillary, thank you, thank you, thank you. Additional partner organizations here this evening include the Afghan Future Fund, the Cyril Taylor Charitable Foundation, the Exelon Corporation Foundation. Calvin Butler, you're all over the place. Jusor, the Mellon Foundation, formerly represented by Marriott Westerman. Trustee Jonathan Holloway is here tonight, and others. The Open Society Foundations, the Simons Foundation International, and the Sony Music Group. We couldn't be more grateful to each of you for your support in expanding access to education. While recognizing the IIE Simons Foundation partnership, we should pause to honor the memory of Jim Simons, whose very recent passing leaves behind a splendid legacy of commitment to math and science advancement, and now a large hole. Looking for folks to step forward to fill. More than 600 professionals carry out IIE's mission from offices worldwide. We could not respond so quickly and effectively in times of crisis, nor produce difference-making global programs every day without that remarkably capable team. Blessings on you, each and every one. And if you are an IIE team member, stand up and be recognized, please. I invite each of you to join us by making a gift, as generous as you can, to the programs that most resonate with you. When you give to IIE, we know that you seek to invest in the futures of students, scholars, and artists. We look forward to your partnership as we continue moving our world toward a more just and peaceful state. Thank you for joining us this evening. God bless everybody.